Now, we have talked about immigration repeatedly on this show, but tonight we're going to focus on just one narrow area of it: asylum. It's the legal process by which people who are fleeing persecution and make it to the US can apply to stay here. And asylum seekers are a group that, in theory, everyone should be able to support. They are the literal huddled masses yearning to breathe free, who the Statue of Liberty has for centuries fricasseed.
Victims of war and oppression look hopefully to the democratic countries to help them rebuild their lives. The only civilized course is to enable these people to take new roots in friendly soil. Now, that's a beautiful message. But now we have this guy.
But Trump is famously not a fan. He went on about asylum at length in Thursday's debate, and he loves to riff about it whenever he gets in front of a crowd.
Our country is full. Our area is full. The sector is full. Can't take you anymore. I'm sorry. Can't happen. So turn around. That's the way it is.
This comes as the numbers of border crossings have surged in the past 2 months. In his message, he's denying even asylum seekers a port of entry, calling the process a scam and a hoax.
Asylum is being scammed, the whole asylum system. It's a big fat con job, folks. Everybody is abusing it. Totally bogus claims. It's a hoax. I know about hoaxes. I just went through a hoax. The asylum program is a scam. Some of the roughest people you've ever seen. People that look like they should be fighting for the UFC. They read a little page given by lawyers. I am very fearful for my life. I am very worried that I will be accosted if I'm sent back home. Oh, give him asylum. He's afraid. He's afraid.
Para acá porque quiero darle una mejor educación a mi hijo, una mejor vida. Allá en Honduras las cosas están difíciles y cada vez van peor, ¿verdad? Dejé otro hijo, tengo mi esposa y mi sueño es que ella esté acá también conmigo.
Under current law, anyone who makes it to America can ask for asylum and receive a hearing. Well, President Trump has blamed the asylum rule for the increase in the number of Central American migrants crossing the border from Mexico into the U.S.
And last night, Trump ordered some major changes to U.S. asylum policies. One new rule will make immigrants pay fees to seek humanitarian refuge. Yeah.
The Remain in Mexico policy, also known as MPP, requires asylum seekers to stay across the border while their cases are processed.
The rule, formerly known as the Migrant Protection Protocol, requires migrants seeking asylum to remain in Mexico during the legal process, allowing only limited entry for court proceedings.
We're not releasing them into our country any longer. They'll wait for long periods of time. We're putting up massive cities of tents. We have thousands of tents. We have a lot of tents. We have a lot of everything. We're going to hold them right there.
And conditions on the border can be dire. In February, more than 2,500 migrants were living in a camp in Matamoros, where there was only one toilet for every 60 people and safe drinking water was scarce.
Nos encontramos en una situación vulnerable, pasamos peligro.
According to the nonprofit Human Rights First, the organization tracked more than 1,500 cases of migrants kidnapped or attacked while under the Remain in Mexico program during the Trump administration.
And forcing migrants to sit in refugee camps or sending them to countries with non-functioning asylum systems is comfortably bad enough before you get to what happened earlier this year when the administration invoked Title 42 of the US Code. And that isn't even an immigration law. It's a provision that gives the government broad power to act during a public health crisis. And the Trump administration is currently claiming that because of the pandemic, it gives them the authority to shut down the border to virtually all migrants. And not just that, they're also claiming that it allows them to take asylum seekers who've already made it into the US and expel them with no due process whatsoever.
At its inception back in the mid-1940s, Title 42 was a rarely used clause of the Public Services Health Law before it was revived under the Trump administration in 2020. According to the American Immigration Council, more than 1.2 million migrants have been expelled since the pandemic began.
And if you are wondering, well, what can we do about this? There is actually one thing that you can do. You can vote for Joe Biden.
This was Biden in a debate during the campaign.
This is the first president in the history of the United States of America that anybody seeking asylum has to do it in another country. That's never happened before in America. They're sitting in squalor on the other side of the river.
But the fact is, a lot of our immigration policy is set solely by the executive branch. And you should know, Biden has explicitly promised to end the Remain in Mexico policy and restore asylum eligibility for domestic violence survivors and the victims of gang persecution. And those could be life-saving changes.
Migrants continue to arrive in the hope of building a life here in our country. And while President Trump's term has long ended, his immigration policies, specifically Title 42 and migrant protection protocols known as MPP, continue under President Biden.
The number of undocumented immigrants in the U.S. detention centers has increased by more than 50% since President Biden took office. But now the Biden administration is set to reinstate a controversial Trump-era policy which forces migrants seeking asylum to remain in Mexico.
Less than a block from the bridge in Reynosa is a growing encampment. More than 2,200 migrants corralled into a small plaza, thanks in large part to Title 42.
Oh, hola, Henry.
Felicia Rangel Sampanaro watches the camp grow every day.
It's clear to me right now in the U.S. that people seem to think this problem has quieted. How is that perception different from reality?
It never stopped under Biden. Nothing's changed. Children are still sent across unaccompanied. And let me say, this is only to minority asylum seekers. There are no white asylum seekers in this camp. And that's what people should be asking. Why is it different for white asylum seekers? Why is it only brown and black people you see living in dirt 24/7? Now for almost a year.
When they finally reached the U.S., they thought, their suffering was over. But, well, guess not. It was not over, because one woman told me, she was treated, worse by U.S. authorities, by U.S. agents than, what she experienced on the road, what she experienced actually in Chile. These people were shipped back from the U.S. to Haiti.
Are Title 42 expulsions sending Haitians back to danger in Haiti immoral? Yes or no?
No, they are not. They are driven by a public health imperative.
I mean, Haiti is still recovering from a massive earthquake, hurricane, political upheaval. So when these people get off the plane, what are they seeing? What are they getting?
Well, here is a quick fact for you. Just yesterday, 10 people were kidnapped in Port-au-Prince. The kidnapping is rising again since the assassination of the president on 7th of July. So this is a city ruled by gang leaders, and these gang leaders, they ransack neighborhoods, they conduct massacres, and they are effectively running the city.
Health imperative, but are they immoral?
But let me explain, because let me be quite clear. We do not conduct ourselves in an immoral way. We do not conduct ourselves in an unethical way. In fact, we are restoring people by reason of the immorality of the past administration. We are reuniting families that were separated.
And it's a little hard to take this administration citing their deep concern about the coronavirus, even before you learn that the CDC was apparently forced to issue the Title 42 order, despite their own scientists saying that there was no evidence it would slow the coronavirus. So this clearly has nothing to do with public health at all.
Remember, that is a public health authority. It is not an immigration policy.
Title 42 has nothing to do with immigration enforcement. I'm going to say that again. I've said it before. I'm going to continue to say it. Title 42 has nothing to do with immigration enforcement and everything to do with public health.
We are doing this out of a public health need. It is not an immigration policy. It is not an immigration policy that we would embrace.
This isn't a partisan issue. It is in Congress's power to stop these illegal activities. I mean, this is a question of who we are as Americans, right? This is a question of whether we continue to shut our door on people in need and to reject individuals that we say we're going to accept on the Statue of Liberty, or if we embrace the ideal of America that we all want to believe in. We're just rejecting it. We're destroying that ideal, and we're becoming the opposite.